The Senate has called on Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde to withdraw his request for United Nations-led investigation into the abduction and subsequent rescue of school children and teachers in Oriire local government area of Oyo State. The resolution followed an additional prayer moved by Senator Adams Oshiomhole, Edo North, during plenary, while lawmakers considered a motion commending President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the armed forces, and other security agencies for securing the release of the victims after 56 days in captivity. Oshiomhole described Governor Makinde's demand for an international probe as politics taken too far and urged him not to trivialize what he described as a successful security operation.
But, Mr. President, I read this morning in newspapers and I've seen it with the electronic. The governor of Oyo State calling on the United Nations to investigate the overall circumstances surrounding the kidnap and even the rescue. I thought that was the most unstatesmanly. He was carrying partisan politics too far, and this Senate should condemn his unguided statement. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. When we wake up and call on foreign authorities to investigate, this is one case in which our armed forces have shown that without paying ransom, even if it meant that these children and some of the elders had to be in captivity for almost 2 months, that the armed forces were working quietly to have these rescue operations, which, as well captured in this motion, led to some loss of life. To trivialize it, to suggest, as the governor of Oyo State seems to have done, that there is something that is not open, that the UN needs to unearth the circumstances, is to question the sovereignty of our nation and to downplay the achievement of the Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and all the service chiefs and in fact all those involved in this process. But I want us to resolve that
Thank you.
The
Wonderful
governor of
point.
Oyo State should not be seen as downplaying, undermining, and politicizing an issue in which ought to be something that the whole nation, across party divide, should start the UDC to commend our armed forces for what they have accomplished on this occasion.
Thank you very much. We now yield the floor to
The substantive motion was sponsored by the Senate leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, Ekiti Central, and co-sponsored by 108 senators, while Senator Aniekon Basi, Akwa Ibom Northeast, seconded the motion. During the debate, Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari, Oyo North, whose constituency includes the area where the pupils were abducted, expressed appreciation to the federal government and the military for securing the children's release.
Motion on commendation of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Nigerian Armed Forces, and other security agencies for the successful rescue of abducted school children and their teachers in Oriire local government area of Oyo State, and recognition of the gallant security personnel who paid the supreme price during the operation.
But we are thanking the government because the truth of the matter is the only thing that is remaining, how the government, maybe when we come under prayer, how the government will be able to help us to rebuild schools around that area and put probably a police post, because it's a very, very, very remote area, Mr. President. And pending that time, we want them to help us redistribute those kids to schools in the town. Mr. President, we appreciate, on behalf of my people and my constituents, we appreciate the federal government and we thank them for bringing our children back alive.
Lawmakers also called on the military to intensify efforts to rescue other victims still being held by kidnappers across the country.
What is important going forward now is to take a cue. Now we have people arrested. These people must immediately be paraded, prosecuted, and laid low, take its course. Delaying prosecution will create another impression that something is amiss. I therefore call on the prosecutorial authorities to please, as a matter of urgency, let them prosecute, let them parade, let them show an example to these people.
For the government to guarantee the lives and properties of the people as enjoined by Section 14, subsection 2B of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the grand norm of the land. Against this backdrop, I commend Mr. President for the leadership shown, as well as the armed forces and other security agencies that participated in these rescue operations. They have shown commendable bravery, patriotism, zeal, and enthusiasm in the discharge of their constitutional mandate.
I'd also like to join my voice in appreciating the efforts of Mr. President and the Army and every other persons who were involved in the rescue of the children and the teachers. But I would like to add a vital part to this motion, please. And it has to do with the provision of psychological support, trauma counseling, and rehabilitation for the rescued victims to facilitate their full recovery from the trauma. And if it may be extended to every other kidnapped victims. We shouldn't just rescue them and expect them to reintegrate into the society. It's often not easy because most of them will suffer from PTSD and all whatnot. So in summary, the need for us to incorporate the provision of psychological support, trauma counseling, and rehabilitation for the rescued victims, not just for the Oyo victims, but every other kidnapped victims. Thank you.
Presiding over the session, Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin put Senator Oshomele's additional prayer. Although the initial vote was inconclusive, a second vote produced a majority in favor of the motion. Access 24 News reports that the Senate thereafter adopted the resolution urging Governor Makinde to withdraw his call for United Nations investigation, while unanimously commending President Tinubu, the armed forces and other security agencies for the successful rescue operation.
May Almighty God grant